Hello, friends. This is Christopher Davis-Shannon, and today we're going over to Cambridge to talk to the composer and ukulele player, ukist, David Roche. David, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm doing really well. How about you? You okay?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. I am marginally caffeinated, so we're on the right track for the afternoon, which is all that matters. Before we get into talking about music too much, would you mind just kicking us off with a tune?
Sure.
That was one of David's original works. And David is a bit of an oddity on people that I've had on the show. I've had a lot of people that write for uke and all of that, but David is actually one of those terrifying people, those people that hold a PhD in music composition, and this is actually what he does with his life, is compose music. So I'd like to take a trip back a couple decades with you, David, if you wouldn't mind. How did you get into composing? I know a lot of us pick up instruments as teenagers and children and such, but not many of us really throw our hat in the ring of composition. So when did you start to feel that composition was the track you were going down in life, and what brought you there?
Sure. I think I started writing music early on, maybe 12 or 13, I think. So I started as an electric guitarist in my hometown. There was like this music scene boom with loads of once famous, almost made it rock bands, and so much actually fantastic music has come out of that. And there was a huge amateur scene around that, and everybody played guitar. There was a huge boom in guitar, and guitar lessons in school were packed, and music education at the time in the UK was completely free. So there was a huge thing with guitar.
That's what we call the good old days when music education was free.
Yeah, no, for sure, right? I mean, I teach a lot now, and the prohibitive factor is the cost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was lucky, and yeah, there was an amateur scene alongside this, and amateur barely scrapes the surface of it. These were people who were touring internationally, some of them, and things like that. Really almost getting there and winning awards in like Kerrang magazine and all this kind of stuff. And you would just go out on a Friday night and you'd be first band on the bill, and there'd be some other band, and you'd kind of cut your teeth that way. And yeah, you just like you'd write a song, stick some chords together, get a riff. There you go. There's your song.
Yeah.
Off you go. Come on, faster. Where's the next one? It was like, it was not a big deal, and everybody was doing this. So just shut up and do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of like that mentality even now. I think that
I actually like that a whole lot about composition. Just shut up and do it.
yeah.
Play some music.
I think so, right? You can get so
Yeah,
stuck in, you go so in your own way, Oh, I can anyway.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I basically started doing that when I was about 12, 13. I'd played in brass bands in my hometown as well. Again, free education, but I wasn't so into that. I did try to write some music for that kind of cornet I played, which is like, a more mellow trumpet, which I
It's
was
the
afraid.
better trumpet, but don't tell trumpet players that.
Yeah, right. But like explaining that instrument to me in that way when I was that age, I was just kind of like, I didn't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how is a trumpet not mellow. But it was so confusing. But that was a great experience as well, and taught me some rudiments of music that allowed me to get my foot in the door later on. So yeah, I just started playing a lot basically, and then really, really, really got into guitar around 13 or 14, and there was all those John Petrucci rock discipline and all this kind of stuff.
All of the notes, not some of
Yeah.
them, all of the notes.
How to play very, very, very fast.
Yeah.
That's all you need. But I was like, I was good at sitting down and doing stuff. I'm still kind of like that now. I would say my kind of skill isn't being like good at an instrument or good at writing anything. It's being good at sort of forcing myself to stare at a problem until I can find an adequate solution. So yeah, I was kind of good at practicing guitar in that way.
Yeah, well, as I think of when we're like legitimate actual practice in the practice room is really just problem solving, right? I mean, that's what it's not playing tunes. That's the fun part. But the practice, if that, I think that's actually a very important thing, is that what you're doing in the practice room is really just solving problems. You could be a mathematician. It doesn't matter. You're doing the same darn thing.
I totally agree. I think there's a lot of persistence involved and a lot of trial and error. And I think
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm also really into video games and things like that. And yeah, it's kind of like a similar skill set with some of them, in that like
Yeah.
there's a resistance.
I think there's a huge crossover between video games and music. There really is something there.
So yeah, I was kind of, even now I kind of like, there's a game called Celeste where you play like a lady who's climbing a mountain. It's so good. If anyone who's watching or listening to this hasn't played it,
Video game recommendations from David.
Yeah. But it's basic. It's ultra accessible, but also ultra difficult depending on what you want it to be. But it basically teaches you this idea of persistence and resilience in what I think is a healthy way. Like, it doesn't mock you for losing or anything. And I think when I played through that, it really reminded me of learning instruments when I was a child, or like learning something very difficult on an instrument and getting close to it but not quite getting it. And there is a carrot that you are like running towards, and
and getting that process to get to the carrot, that's the fun part.
Yeah, and I think the enjoyment is in doing it, I think. And so I really got into that. And I just assumed from like 14 that I would just like study music. I didn't really know what that meant at all. And I was speaking to my teachers about it, and they're like, "Yeah, really good guitarist." And I didn't learn any piano or anything, so I didn't realize there were requirements for that at university.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise that came very late on into my university applications. But now I'm a piano teacher, so that leveled out as well.
You got it. Yeah.
But I think I applied to university. I didn't even know that because originally I was an electric guitarist, I didn't even know that would cause an issue. I didn't understand that because I hadn't really been involved in many music things outside of rock bands. And my academic grades were good and all this kind of stuff. I applied to Oxford but didn't get in for undergraduate. I got an interview and it looked great, and I thought I really want to go here, and then I didn't get in. But I ended up going to Cardiff instead, which was my sort of second choice. But I love Cardiff as a city, and I think it was absolutely hands down the correct choice by a mile. I think that it was one of those accidental situations. I didn't realize I was walking into something like that was going to be really ultra important in my kind of career and life in general. So yeah, Cardiff was great. The lecturers and the staff there really helped me get up the base sort of skill set that I needed to be a professional musician. And I was reasonably okay as a student. I mean, I did well academically, but I would say like I was, maybe, could have worked a little harder here and there. But
we all could have.
Yeah, right. I know, right?
College is for.
Yeah, absolutely, right. No comment. But I know what you're saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
But I had a great time, and Cardiff was fantastic. And I think I learned more than I did anywhere else that I ever studied by quite a long, really significant margin. And then I studied composition there as well. And that was where I started getting into classical music a little more, and sort of writing contemporary classical music, whatever that even means. But yeah, it wasn't for years that I would actually write anything that resembles what I play now. Yeah, I was writing really dense, sort of difficult
Mm-hmm.
atonal's a
Yeah.
bad word, but atonal stuff, and like I totally wasn't into it. Then I went on to do my masters at Oxford, and I was really lucky to get a scholarship there. And I had a few scholarships at Cardiff as well, so it was, things were going well on that front. So yeah, I studied. Actually, it wasn't a scholarship for Oxford. I got an AHRC studentship, which isn't a scholarship. I can remember someone telling me that, but it is still an academic thing. Anyway,
But
I don't know what it is.
it's for the school. That's all that
Yeah,
matters.
right. Yeah. It was good for that, so I took it and then went there. No, Oxford was great, and I made some really great friends there as well. I was there for a year, had a great time, and then I went to do my PhD in Cambridge, which is where I live now. And that was great too. And about halfway through my PhD, I decided to change my style dramatically because I felt like the music I was writing wasn't something I was enjoying as much as the music I'd written when I was about 14.
Mm-hmm.
It completely lost the entire edge, energy, and that kind of primal interest in it. And yeah, I changed it. And the first piece I wrote was selected for a call for scores. And I kind of, you can more or less trace my career back to that one piece, so that was also a good choice.
Yeah.
One of few, but yeah. And after I don't know, I think my path towards like actually making a living out of writing music is a bit of an unusual one in the UK. I enter a lot of contests and do a lot of summer festivals. And
Yeah, and David, this is something you and I were speaking about before we hit record on here. Is going to music school and then being thrown out in the world, and having a big old dose of, oh no, what happens now? What am I actually supposed to do with all of these skills that I have just learned? Because the concept of like professional development in university music programs doesn't exactly exist at all. Or the business side, at least for most of us. I actually have a couple friends who went to a few universities that did get well versed in those things, and I'm always very jealous of them. So when you come out with a PhD and you're writing scores and you have all these pieces, and then you have to ask your question of what now? What do I do? And that's a tough road, and everyone I think traverses it a bit differently because most of us have no clues. You said you were entering competitions and things such as that. And I know sometimes that can be a dirty word in the compositional community, is like composition competitions, because they're non-commissioned works. It's not guaranteed money, and a lot of times you're paying entrance fees and things like that. But what inspired you to feel like that was the correct path to go down for the trajectory you wanted to go?
I don't know. I think it's just there's a lot of paths, and I feel like some of the advice I was given by prominent people over the years has just been so unbelievably, I would almost describe it as like violently unhelpful. It's like, having someone who went to like an ultra expensive school tell me about how I should quit my job in retail and just focus on composing and make like, less than I made in a part-time minimum wage
Yeah,
job.
and you have to explain to them that like you enjoy eating 3 meals a day and things like that.
I mean, at the time when I finished my PhD, I had used every inch of debt that I could get myself into in my credit cards. Like none of them would go any further. And I was thinking like, what is next then? Do I stay in this retail job, or do I try one of the kind of forbidden things that I've been told not to do? And I did a bunch of these contests, and I accept that I was lucky, and I accept that it is luck of the draw, a lot of it. I really, really do. And I understand the kind of ethical implications of it. But only speaking for myself, some of these competitions allowed me to get myself like in a financially stable position and purchase me some more time to write more pieces, to attend more festivals, and to network with people. And in those networks, then I made contact with people who not only became sort of mentors and tutors, but like became people who massively influenced what my music would change into, and made me more effective in my writing. So I think that, I think there is no one way to do it. There really isn't. And for me, that was something that worked at a time when the things I was told to do didn't work. And, you know,
Yeah.
just writing your best piece and hoping someone picks it up. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I mean, who on earth thinks that is actually gonna, you know, I can't believe that I was so,
Right. And it's the same thing as a player, you know, thinking that just because you're the best player in the world, that anyone cares or knows you exist at all. And that's a hard pill to swallow in either world, I think, to realize that the quality is not everything and maybe not even the predominant thing that drives the career, especially in the beginning.
I think that is such an astute point, though, that there is so, you were saying this earlier, there is always someone who is a better player than you, a better
Oh,
writer than
gosh.
you.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that
Yeah, I resigned myself years and years ago that I will never be the best at what I do, and that's the most advantageous thing I have in my life, is to know that there's always someone better, because then I got to keep working.
I mean, and there's so many. I mean, there are so many metrics to measure success as well. I mean, like, you know, in the UK, the big thing you like is that financial success isn't necessarily success. But I think, like, when you talk, you know, you're talking about an industry dominated by wealthy people in the UK, and yeah, you know, I work in education and I see what the major barriers to getting an education is. And it's not when you're 18 going to university, in my personal opinion. It's when you're much younger and you can't even afford like 10 quid for a music lesson every 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that it's so much earlier on, and we just like, you know, we're talking about like, oh, maybe we should wear casual wear to concerts. Maybe that'll bring people into it. It's like that ship has sailed, you know. Maybe that can change too, but I think the problems are deeper and earlier on.
And access to early, like, childhood music education is so important to getting people in the pipeline of like respecting and loving music, even if they never go on to players. And that financial barriers to, we have the same exact issue here, and luckily we have a few nonprofits in town that provide music lessons for free and instruments for free to kids in the inner city, but not every place is blessed like that. And the thing is, like, the graduation rates for those kids are substantially higher than people who are just in the public school. So it impacts their academic life in so many different ways, having access to the music education as well, because you learn a whole new skill set while learning an instrument, and how to practice, and all these things are important life skills too. And it's a shame that because of money, some people get deprived of the opportunity to do that if it's something they want, you know.
I think so. I think it's such a incredibly complicated thing, you know. Everybody in that situation deserve, you know, they deserve the opportunity. The people teaching deserve to be paid for the work. It's just and this issue around a lack of funding just turns everyone against each other. And
Absolutely.
I guess so. And anyway, to spin this back around to contests and things like that, you know, when someone tells me that, like, not to spend £35 on an application when they've spent, you know, £70 on an application to university, or, you know, something else like that, I find it really frustrating sometimes, because for me, this was not only how I got out of working in a book. Well, I liked working in the bookshop. It wasn't like I got out, but it was how I went from working a job that wasn't necessarily what I always wanted to do, although it was a good job and I was grateful for it, into composing, and that allowed me to get further into things and build these networks, you know. And this year, a series of prizes helped me finally clear the debt that I had accumulated. So, you know, and I had accumulated that debt because of my education. I imagine it's much worse in the US, not because of composition. Like, you know, this is the frustrating thing, you know. Go get the education will get you a job. No one cares if you got a degree, you know.
No, not
you know,
not in this field. No, it doesn't matter.
and if I've ever worked with someone, I don't care about the CV at all. I want to see the thing they've made that I need to have, you know. It's frustrating that the metrics we use to measure capability and efficacy of music and performance are so rooted in things that bear no relation to the professional environment. Anyway, this has got very serious all of a sudden. Sorry.
That's okay. We can be serious occasionally.
Yeah. Like a grouchy. And I tell you another thing. Yeah.
Grumpy composers. It is a true stereotype.
For sure, for sure. Contests have been great, basically. I did I'll spin it on some nicer stories. I did the Toru Takemitsu Award in January, where I worked with the Tokyo Philharmonic Orchestra.
Cool.
And it was just like, wow. I mean, it was all online, but they were going to take us out to Japan and everything. We even got the visas. And I spoke to Thomas Aders, who I'd written some essays on as an undergraduate. And, these were really, really wonderful things. And it didn't put me out of pocket at all because everything was paid for and all this kind of stuff. It was a really amazing experience. And just last week, I come back from Italy for another contest. And that was for the Dante 700 with La Philharmonie in Prato in Italy. And it was, again, absolutely amazing. Every bit of it was just fantastic. The orchestra...
Yeah. And I can't even imagine the feeling you must get hearing, especially symphonic works premiered. So we spent so much time in programs like Sibelius. I don't know what you use for for notation. You're listening to those terrible sounds of approximations of instruments, and then to finally get to hear your orchestrations by real instruments in a proper hall must just be the most gratifying experience one can imagine.
I was for this experience in Italy with the Dante 700. I was more aware of it this time because with the pandemic and everything as well.
Yeah.
But so I was lucky enough to win the prize that was on offer as well. And I remember standing on stage and thinking, I can remember writing the first like 4 bars of this piece of music on my sofa, and like this is so insane that this is happening, and like, why is this happening to me? And like, I absolutely don't deserve this kind of experience, and just like feeling immensely guilty for being able to do this when so many people who are way better than me don't get to do these things. But also making sure that I actually force myself to enjoy it because that's even worth is to wait on, the guilt is fine and good, but I'd be even guiltier if I didn't at least have a sip of that enjoyment,
Yeah, you are allowed to have it, right? You are allowed to enjoy what you do.
I think so. And I don't know, it is kind of, I think the world at the moment is just so crushingly cruel that being in those kind of indulgent situations is, slightly haunting, even when it's absolutely mind-meltingly incredible. And hearing that orchestra was, again, really emotional after a year. And they played staggeringly well. They were, a really amazing conductor, amazing orchestra, and the organization were all wonderful. And, the entire experience was just fantastic. And, you're in Italy, so the food was great and it's fantastic. I had like rabbit the one day. It was just like, I wasn't like, spending, it wasn't like breaking the bank either. And that makes it, even worse for you, like getting, I don't know, it was just an amazing experience. And I feel very, very lucky to do it. And it's just something I wanted to do since I was a child. I don't really know why. And to kind of reflect on that.
Yeah. You just knew you had to. That seems to be it sometimes, is it's just, I got to do this thing.
I think so, right? And I don't know why that is. I mean, even, I'm not from my brother and sister played instruments, but I'm not from a particularly musical family, I would say. And, not like orchestral musicians or anything like that. And I don't know, you say about Sibelius, but that was like a real way into music for me, Sibelius. Yeah.
Oh, me as well. It was finale for me when I was a teenager. But being able to sit there, write scores, and hear those ideas back in real time is just, and being like, is that what I hear in my head? No, that was not at all what I heard in my head. I better work on this.
Right.
I think the process.
Absolutely. And I can remember making like fake drum parts to My Chemical Romance songs and things like that. So
Oh,
I could
yeah.
try and record them, and it was, I listened back to them now and I'm like, oh my God,
What was I thinking?
Well, but like, processing all those kinds of things. And then there was like, you could see where I started like getting bored with the drums. So I like put a violin because I saw violin in the instruments list. And then before you know it, there's all these kind of things being pulled in and dragged in. And yeah, I don't know. Then I got it. Then I really got into it. And like heavy metal and rock is really, extends a respect to a large range of music.
Yeah.
And, I was lucky with that as well, because if I hadn't been interested in that, I might have sort of had a kind of, maybe more of a snobbery than I do about things now.
Sure, yeah. That you didn't grow up as this person that only listens to Beethoven, and that's legitimate composing, and nothing else is, right?
Yeah. Pop music, you want to turn that off? No, for me, I feel like, I'm not saying I wasn't like kind of against certain music when I was younger. There was always kind of like, dance music. There was that kind of rock versus dance music kind of attack.
Yeah.
So, I was, I picked my side for that. But, I got over that when I was older. And I think that it was easy to kind of make the jump to writing classical music from there. And I was just lucky enough to be able to do it badly for a long enough time that I could get to a level of quality that allowed me to get one piece of work. Yeah. And then from that I could get another, and steadily snowball.
Yeah, and sometimes you got grind for years to get that first one, right? That first little break. It's not a big break, just a little one to build upon is so important.
It's so hard, and it's so hard, but two organizations that I work with a lot in the UK, SAFA, who are a new music ensemble based in Manchester, and the Vale of Glamorgan Festival, who are, one of the UK's, if not the UK's sort of biggest classical music festival that puts on, name an influential composer of the last 20 years, and they've been there at some point. It's really unbelievably impressive. But they were organizations that gave me an opportunity and then gave me another opportunity and listened to me and took me seriously at a time when maybe other people would just think, this is nonsense, So, they continue to be some of the most supportive organizations in the UK at the minute. And, I think I'm extremely grateful to have those kinds of opportunities that just give you that little experience in an environment where you can learn, but you're taken seriously, so you act seriously. And that's how you kind of, or for me anyway, that's how I kind of became more professional in my work, where I thought, they think this is good.
Yeah, it's eye-opening to like be taken seriously for the first time, right? In the back of your mind, you go, maybe I shouldn't be.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's great to have that welcome environment where you're respected and open to be able to do what you need to do. Before we dive too much more into composition and such works, let's hear another one of your tunes. And there was another one of David's original works. Actually, the first time I heard your pieces and became aware of your compositions was through Samantha Muir, which I mean, a huge proponent of new music on ukulele, to say the very least. And so it's someone I've spoken to on this show as well. And when I heard one of the pieces you wrote for her, I was just like, this is awesome. We need more of this in the ukulele world. And then you released your group 10 of the best for ukulele, which I love. And it's actually some works, some of those I've used with a few of my students, because I think there's a lot of new works being composed for uke, and some are just too hard for a lot of people. And some of the works in 10 of the best are really accessible pieces, but also definitely have some distinct challenges in them as well, which I love, and also a lot of room for interpretation, because I know I did one of the pieces from there and I rearranged a bunch of the fingerings that you had, just because I like to make things harder for myself is really the goal here, you know. But what got you into composing for ukulele? Because we've been talking thus far about you composing for symphony and such, and then you're bringing it on down to 4 strings, like lucky for all of us, but why?
Yeah. I just like it, you know. I think I started playing ukulele when I worked in a bookshop. We had
yeah,
ukulele for some reason, right? And it was originally a music shop when I worked for it, I should say. But it was wait.
It was a music shop that they were. Oh, we're gonna just be a bookstore now.
Yeah. It was like a chain of bookstores, but they had like a music department, right?
Oh, okay.
So they had like
a book and music store. I could get behind that. That sounds like kind of my heaven to me.
I mean, it was they used to have like a dedicated small store for the CDs, and that was just like a really charming job, you know. Just have a little, you know, very civilized, to sit in the nice sort of darkened wooden room and listen to classical music and jazz all day. It felt very, very sophisticated. But as part of this, we had some ukuleles, and one day I thought, I've got to try these. I've got to give them a go, you know. So I started playing them, and you know, they were good fun. And I started seeing in schools that people were studying ukulele, and I thought, I can do this. I can teach some ukulele as well. You know, I'd been teaching some guitar and bass and things like that since I was about, you know, 14, 15 or something like that. I did my final exams when I was about 15 maybe on the guitar. So I was too confident, and too cocky with it, you know. But,
typical guitar player.
Yeah, absolutely. Though. I was like, yeah, give me a, nah, this is easy. Throw me that. Obviously it wasn't. But, you know, I just started writing things for the instrument immediately. That's kind of how I got to play guitar really as well, was writing my own stuff, like in bands and things, you know. That was how I really got fluent on it. And I did the same on ukulele, and I started teaching it. And then I started running a ukulele group in a school, and then maybe 2-3 years after that, Giovanni Albini got in touch about a commission for ukulele, and the ukulele commission was called I Love Ukulele, and Sam's website is called I Love Classical Ukulele.
Yeah.
And I also had some guitar pieces, and I got in touch with Sam's supervisor out of the blue, Steve Goss, who's great as well, great teacher and great musician. I said, what do you reckon of these? And he said, they're good. I also sent him my ukulele piece, and he said, you should be in touch with. So anyway, after that, I thought, I'd really like to write Sam a piece, because I'd seen it playing. And anyway, I wrote In Every Heart for Sam, which is a piece of music based on the first few notes of a Billy Joel song, And So It Goes.
Oh, is it really? I didn't realize that.
You can get cool. Whatever it is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, very, very loosely based. And I thought I'd make a tremolo piece, and Sam just played it astoundingly well, I would say.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The tremolo section on that is something else. It's beautiful.
I really couldn't believe it. I even remember now, I was on my sofa again, as many stories go. And I bought the game Pikmin 3 for my Switch. It was a re-release. And I was listening to it, and I turned to my girlfriend. I was like, how good is this? You know, I was like, it was like stopping me in my tracks. I was like bloody hell, this is really exceptional, you know. And you know, I thought, well, I've got to write more. if this person is going to play it like this, gonna have to, I think, anyone who knows Sam knows that she is like a huge kind of trailblazing uke player and researcher. But
Absolutely.
she's incredible. I'm now trying to write her a concerto for ukulele as well. So this is my my big thing that I want to take with it. I want to scale it up and make something enormous, orchestral, and also more manageable as a chamber group, because practicality is important. But I'm going to also create the pie in the sky version. If you build it, they will come version.
Sure. Yeah.
And I said this to someone the other week, and they said, well, that doesn't always happen. Field of Dreams isn't a real story,
Yes, it is. You ruined my childhood.
But you built it and they came,
Yeah.
But I wrote this other piece about it almost a year ago exactly. And this Christmas, a piece of music I wrote is being performed because I just pitched it to someone. It was the right piece at the right time. And one of my colleagues said, that piece is never going to get performed. And now it's happening. So I'm kind of like, look, there is a way. There is a way. The first step is actually having it. So I'm writing this concerto for Sam, and it's going to be hopefully a really significant, impressive work for her. I want it to be something that she can really leave a mark on, that In Every Heart piece is Sam's piece. And I want this to be her concerto in that way, There's, I've tried to play that piece, and I'm, blazing garbage in comparison to
I tried it too. It didn't go so well.
I was like, yeah, I can do the tremolo. Give me and my tremolo was like,
yeah. I know. Yeah, you compare your tremolo is one of those things. I compare myself to someone like Sam and just go, nope, not happening. Just not happening. I will never have it that even and that subtle with the dynamics, and that's the joy of having such an incredible player play your works, is you get to hear those things you imagine come to life, and in a way that you probably couldn't even conceptualize it being that good. Right?
It's just like it was just so nice, and it was just so nice to have someone really take the time to do it properly. Yeah. And got all the way through, and there wasn't any mistakes or anything. I just thought, it's like, this is, I listen to this. I enjoy listening to this. This is such a, this is better playing than I could have done of this. More an amazing thing to have. So I feel really lucky with it. And so honestly, one of my main reasons to keep composing for ukulele is experiences like that. People play the music exceptionally well. People want music. My most downloaded scores are all ukulele stuff. Yeah. I've sold more ukulele music in the last year than I've sold ever of my entire back catalogue.
Sure. Yeah, there's such a demand out there for the instrument, and people want new challenging works, and teachers want new pieces to work on their students with, because there just wasn't a lot out there until a few years ago, except for adaptions from other instruments, which is great. That's wonderful too. I want to play Bach on ukulele. I love playing those historical pieces and all that, but to have new works that are especially written for the instrument and playing to the strengths of the instrument as well, as opposed to being guitar pieces that are like, hey, we can do this on ukulele as well, thinking of the ukulele as a primary instrument. I think it shows in a lot of the newer works that they were conceived for that instrument and not just adaptions of others. And I truly love that side of things. And you just started a thing called Ukulele Modern as well to get some of your scores out there. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Ukulele Modern is my way of trying to get more music available for the ukulele. So in the summer, I wrote 225 pieces for ukulele, and I'm releasing them all over the course of the next year.
Did you write them all while sitting on your couch?
I wrote maybe half of them on the couches there. I had to write some of them in this chair, I think.
But not the other chair behind it, not that one.
No, that's the closed chair, that is it. It's honestly, it's just like I don't know, I'm pretty good at composing stuff quickly and just like keeping it going. And I think that, lots of people say you need some people have said to me in the past, you need a long time to write a piece of music. I think revising stuff and taking time over it is, something that is beneficial. And I do that to all the ukulele modern pieces. But I think you can do a lot quickly if you're feeling motivated to do it, and if you have space to do it. So this is something I really wanted to do. I just wanted to get collections of ukulele music out there. Like you said, I want to use them with my students. I think one of the hardest things with getting people play things on ukulele is to learn different stuff. Like with the guitar, it's easy. Someone comes in and say, I want to do the rock grades. I want to be a rock and, all this kind of stuff. I want to be a rock. I want to be a rock player.
I want to be a rock. Yeah. Make me a piece of pumice stone.
yeah. I just need the mallet and the I literally have a list of 100 riffs that you should play if you're you want to be a consummate heavy metal guitarist.
Right. We don't have that for you. Like, these are the things you need to know. There's no accepted curriculum. There's nothing like that.
The only way to get towards that is to, I think, just write an extensive amount, like an absurd amount of music like we have for piano, like Bartók's Mikrokosmos. I mean, I'm not saying that this is comparable.
Yeah.
Not just to say,
maybe it will be. We'll find out in 50 years.
Yeah. Like years after my death, there'll be people like, trolling through interviews to go like, look, he knew about it. But there's you look through that and it's just an extensive, a huge array of music, and it covers so many subtle aspects of pianism that you might not bump into. And I think that experience is missing for a lot of ukulele players. The grades are really good. Sam works a lot on the grades as well, and they are the RSL grades in the UK, and they are so incredibly good and like sometimes zany, sometimes just unexpectedly profound as well, I think. So like and I feel like there's a lot more effort has gone into legitimizing the ukulele than any other musical instrument that has a grade in the UK. So Ukulele Modern is an attempt to do that. If you go online, sign up to the mailing list, you get a free piece of music every month. If you go on the Patreon,
and I'll link to that all down below so you can get this, because I know at least nearly everyone watching this wants new ukulele music. So
oh yeah, there's going to be just an absurd amount of free music. I'm this isn't kind of like my grand financial business plan.
Don't put all your eggs in the ukulele basket.
Right. But it's that kind of, as with this stuff, like even like the smallest amount of support is like legitimacy and helps, and it gives if it buys me an hour a week, that gives me like a piece that I could proofread. It's just it really is that kind of trade-off. I think I look at the way things are structured now, and it's just like, this is how it works. It's like, I do this for money, I do this for composing and money, and this is the thing I want to do, and I've got to find some space to do this. And Ukulele Modern is that project. I want to create as much music as possible and just make a space where people can pick up a load of new pieces and enjoy them.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful thing. And with that, let's hear one of the pieces. David Roche, thank you so much for joining me today and chatting for a while. And I'm going to link down below to your website and Ukulele Modern and some other things so that people can hear all your works and get to your works and keep up on all of the new works that you are composing. So thank you again for taking the time out of your day to chat with me a little bit. And if you wouldn't mind, could you just give us a little bit of exit music?
Yeah, sure.